Part 19. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 181. Chen Jian is a businessman and never leaves his cell phone. So Tao Ran knew that Chen Jian must have received the surveillance information immediately. As long as he clicks in and takes a look, he can discover the cause and effect of being blocked. So Tao Ran panicked but was not afraid when faced with danger, and the longer time passed, the calmer she became. She knew that Chen Jian would definitely do something and someone would come to rescue him soon. In this way, she kept stalling for time, digging holes for Zhou Qingqing, and simply pushed all the blame to Zhou Qingqing. Her words were not wasted. The three gangsters were convinced. Until they were taken away, they all thought that Zhou Qingqing called the police and did something. Zhou Qingqing will not only steal the chicken but lose the rice. What she will face next is not only the pressure from her family and Chen Jian, but also the reckoning from the Wang family. These little days will definitely be exciting. Half an hour ago, although the police were dispatched to the property police room, the matter did not become a big deal. The surveillance in front of Chen's house was exposed. Wang, Dad, and the other three were shocked. Damn it, Zhou Qingqing is really not a thing. Was he really just telling lies, coaxing them into taking action, turning on the surveillance video, and calling the police at the same time? The three of them were lucky that they did not listen to Zhou Qingqing, otherwise they would be in the police station instead of the police room. The police asked them what they were doing just now, why they brought knives, why they surrounded the girl, and why they stopped people. Father Wang and the other three said that the knives were just for self-defense and they did not take them out. They only came to ask Zhou Qingqing for questioning, and they only asked Chen Yi when they surrounded him. There was no embarrassment or inappropriate behavior whatsoever. Classmate Chen Yi, please tell them the truth. Chen Jian felt extremely distressed. Xiaoi, don't be afraid, just tell the truth. If you are wronged, don't hold it back, just say it. Dad will definitely make the decision for you. No. Tao Ran looked at Chen Jian, as if he had to swallow it for the sake of his family, his father, his brother, and the Chen family's face. They didn't do anything to me, this was the truth. She has no evidence of the other party's evil doing, so even the accusation cannot be established. Rather than offending these gangsters, it would be better to make them hate Zhou Qingqing. Zhou Qingqing wants to play borrowing a knife to kill. Let's see who is borrowing whom. Yes, the surveillance can prove it. We didn't do anything, the three bastards assured. Finally, the gangsters left after being educated and warned by the police. The three of them were also put on the community's blacklist and were banned from entering again. An angry Chen Jian took his daughter home. You have been wronged. Dad can't help you, Chen Jian blamed himself. Tao Ran did not answer. Chen Jian and Ma Xiaozu had children, so it was not easy to tell them apart. Therefore, it was impossible to divorce easily, and she could not kill them all against Zhou Qingqing. If she wanted to get rid of the harm, she would have to expend some effort. And hands and feet. Sure enough, as soon as she got home, Ma Xiaozu had already started the miserable mode. She burst into tears and ran nose, crying and begging at the same time. Even if the surveillance was thrown out, the mother and daughter would still be in the same scene when faced with conclusive evidence, weeping till they were full of tears. For those who didn't know, they thought it was the mother and daughter who were wronged by Doi. That's enough. If any of you howl again, get out of here right now. Chen Jian had never lost his temper like this towards Ma Xiaozu. Ma Xiaozu, I am now officially informing you that I am planning to divorce you. I can't let my daughter live with you, a snake and scorpion daughter, so please pack your things now and take your daughter away. Tomorrow, I will find someone to give you the divorce agreement. Ma Xiaozu was so frightened that she fell to her knees with a plop, hugged Chen Jian's legs and started crying. Why are we getting divorced? The marriage belongs to you and me. You can't just break up because of such a trivial matter or because the child made a mistake. Have you thought about Xiao Qiao? Have you thought about our relationship over the years? Now the child, you just made a mistake, please calm down. Ching Ching was just confused for a moment in a hurry. She is just a child. She did something wrong. Even the law will give her a chance to correct her mistake. Can't you give her a chance? After all, she has called you daddy for so many years. Or just for my sake, for Xiaokeo's sake. As Ma Xiaozu said this, she pulled Zhou Qingqing and knelt down at Chen Jian's feet. Why don't you hurry up and beg your dad? She winked at her daughter. Chen Jian is a soft-hearted guy. She could hold him back then, but there's no reason why she can't now. Divorce is absolutely not an option anyway. Now that she is divorced, she can get at most half a house, a car, and part of her savings. What is the use of this little money? How long will it take her? For the sake of the Chen family's property and the old man's property, I have to bear it no matter what. The best one is the one who laughs last. Regarding face and dignity, let's put it aside first and fool people first. Zhou Qingqing recognized the situation and quickly cried and begged, saying daddy every time, with tears streaming down her face, saying that she knew she was wrong, she would never dare again, and she would never be so confused again. Ma Xiaozu gave her son another look. Chen Chao immediately cried and came forward, squeezed to Chen Jian's side, and hugged his waist. Dad, do you want me to go away? I don't want to leave you, you can't want me to go away. Dad, don't you say that you can admit your mistakes, is there any big improvement? My sister has never made mistakes before, you can't not give her a chance. The three people's play was lively, but Tao Ran watched coldly from the side, coughed a few times, and interrupted immediately. Are you mistaken? I am the one who suffers, I am the victim, I am the one who is bullied. If you don't come to apologize to me, don't come to beg me, don't come to kneel down to me, you all surround me. Dad, what are you doing? I haven't forgiven you yet. Where do you have the nerve to ignore me? Where do you have the attitude to act like a family? She made a loud noise, and the air suddenly became stagnant. Ma Xiaozu and Zhou Qingqing were trembling with anger. What? This damn girl, is she still waiting for her to kneel down and apologize? When Chen Jian saw his daughter's cold eyes, he came to his senses and stabbed him hard again with the words family affection. He and his daughter are family too. The more kind he is to Ma Xiaozu and the others, the deeper the harm to his daughter will be. Feeling guilty, he opened his son's arms and kicked Ma Xiaozu and his daughter out of the house. Xiao Ai is right. She is the one who suffers. What you have to do now is to ask for her forgiveness first. As long as she doesn't nod, it's useless for you to say anything to me. As a father, this is the greatest fairness to her. Tao Ran looked at Chen Jian with slightly soft eyes. Well, he finally said this like a father. Dad, can I understand that if they want to talk to you, they must first obtain my forgiveness and heal my pain? Tao Ran nodded and looked at the three people leaning to one side. Look, my dad has spoken, what do you say? Please start your performance. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 182. Tao Ran collapsed on the sofa and looked at the three people opposite him calmly. There was silence in the air for several seconds. Ma Xiaozu took the lead in starting her explanation. But Tao Ran shook his head directly, raised his neck, and signaled to Zhou Qingqing. Her overly arrogant attitude irritated the nerves of the mother and daughter opposite. Especially Zhou Qingqing, she just wanted to scratch Chen Yi's face into a spider web, the kind that could not be recovered even after plastic surgery. She adjusted herself several times before she came forward to apologize. Naturally, her dry "I'm sorry" didn't satisfy Tao Ran. Ma Xiaozu, Xiao Ai, we are all sisters. You hit me and you got angry. Look at Kinking's face. You beat her. Stop. Taoran raised his hand. First, don't mention the word sister, she doesn't deserve it. Second, I only hit her 3 times, but what she wanted was to destroy me. Don't make it sound like I took advantage. Third, I robbed her for the rest of my life, I will naturally have to vent my anger. But now, my anger is not going well at all. Do you understand? How do you want to be happy? Ma Xiaozu gritted her teeth. I don't know. You guys have to figure it out first. Ma Xiaozu glanced at Chen Jian secretly. The man's face was expressionless. Ma Xiaozu secretly grabbed her daughter's hand and lowered her voice, be smart. Then she went back to find a feather duster. Xiaoi, Qing Qing did something wrong this time. If this feather duster is given to you, just beat it hard. This is what Qing Qing owes you, you don't have to worry, I will keep it and won't say a word as long as you can vent your anger, that's fine. Humph, she wanted to see how the stinky girl could be so cruel in front of so many people. As long as she takes over, there will be no reason to hold back. If she cared about Chen Jian's opinion of her, she would definitely not be cruel. Of course, if she does something really cruel, they won't be afraid. Let Chen Jian take a good look at what kind of vicious snake and scorpion she is. At that time, Qing Qing only needs to take advantage of the situation and take her to the hospital, and then she will be the one to blame this time, Chen Yi. This matter naturally ends here, and even Chen Jian has nothing to say anymore. Ma Xiaozu made a good calculation like this. Zhou Qingqing handed the feather duster to Taoran. I was wrong. I'm sorry. Sister, if you don't like it, just hit me a few times. I will never fight back or hold grudges. Oh, I won't fight. Don't give it to me, Taoran refused. Do you think the feather duster is not thick enough? I'm afraid you're going to get into trouble, she said it bluntly and exposed it directly, making the mother and daughter dumbfounded again. Taoran, Dad, you are not allowed to hit her. I'm afraid that she will bite you back and accuse you of domestic violence. By then, you won't even be able to take the initiative in divorce. Other people. Taoran said to Ma Xiaozu again, since I want to teach Zhou Qingqing a lesson, I think you are the most suitable one. Zhou Qingqing is your daughter and she grew up under your education. Since you have the responsibility of educating her, you should do your part now, right? It can express your attitude, reveal your selflessness, and also reflect your sincerity. You, mother and daughter, have broken bones and connected tendons, making it less likely to cause further consequences, so I think it is most appropriate to leave this feather duster in your hands. Taoran grabbed the feather duster and threw it into Ma Xiaozu's arms. Based on what you just said, just beat him hard. This is what Zhou Qingqing owes me. You don't have to worry. I'll keep it and won't say a word, Taoran returned the original words. Ma Xiaozu was holding a feather duster, her hands shaking with anger. Chen Jian looked at Ma Xiaozu coldly, also waiting for her attitude. He also wanted to beat Zhou Qingqing so hard that he would be beaten to death. Not long ago, Wang Shu's father told him Zhou Qingqing's various hints of harming Chen Yi, which almost made him angry to death. To be so vicious at such a young age is simply terrifying. Ma Xiaozu's heart was filled with chills, and she was also disappointed with the cold-blooded Chen Jian. She knew that they were not her biological father and daughter, and he allowed his bad-tempered daughter to do whatever she wanted. What should I say? I'm tired. Taoran was a little impatient. If you don't want to fight, I'll go back to my room. Ma Xiaozu gritted her teeth and could only whip her daughter with a duster. Zhou Qingqing subconsciously raised her arm to block it, and there was a red mark on her hand. Qingqing, remember today's lesson. You must love your sister in the future, and you must not make such a mistake again. Do you understand? As he spoke, Ma Xiaozu swung away several times in succession. Ma Xiaozu yelled righteously, Zhou Qingqing howled at the top of her lungs, and Chen Qiao yelled and cried. Ma Xiaozu pulled out the duster for the 10th time, but no one shouted to stop. Chen Qiao hugged Chen Jian's legs again, and Zhou Qingqing rolled over and crawled to Chen Jian's feet again. Tao Ran sneered, "Don't beg my dad, beg me." She pointed her eyes at the ground in front of her. The three of them were silent for another second. Zhou Qingqing's eyes were almost poisonous. How could she kneel down and beg Chen Yi? Ever since she was little, the person she hated the most was Chen Yi. Her goal in life is to replace Chen Yi. If she bends her knees now, she will never be able to lift her head up in this life. But there was a force pushing behind her. Her knees weakened and she fell to her knees. It's her mother. Qingqing, apologize to sister. You were wrong in this matter, and mom can't help you. Ma Xiaozu felt distressed to death, but Chen Jian's indifference also made her sober. Qingqing, you have to ask your sister for forgiveness. Zhou Qingqing felt cold all over. She couldn't believe that she really knelt in front of Chen Yi. She refused, she didn't want it. But her mother held her back firmly and whispered in her ear, telling her to be patient, saying that as long as she passed this level, everything would return to where it started. She didn't even need to raise her head to feel that Chen Yi was now condescending, staring at her with raised eyebrows, his eyes full of provocation. This fiery look already made her spine tremble. Her face was burning, her throat was hurting, and no one in the world knew how humiliated she was now. Sister, I'm sorry. But she had already knelt down. She just hoped that this moment would pass quickly, forget it quickly, and never think of it again. It was my fault, But, what did Zhou Qingqing see when he just took a look? She saw Chen Yizheng, who was nestled on the sofa, taking his cell phone and pointing it at her. Shooting. Shooting. Is it taking pictures? Still shooting videos? Is this to leave an eternal image for her now, her kneeling and begging? To keep her ugly? Leave forever evidence of today's shame? Zhou Qingqing could almost imagine that in countless scenarios in the future, Chen Yi would take out this moment on her phone to make fun of her. She can't bear it. Zhou Qingqing exploded. She jumped up almost instantly and rushed forward towards Chen Yi. No recording allowed. Chen Xiao, who had endured until now, saw his sister being bullied. He also scolded bad fat man and beat you to death while helping Zhou Qingqing attack her. Ma Xiaozu couldn't hold her back in time, and the siblings had already pounced on the sofa where Chen Yi was. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 183. At that moment, Taoran and Ma Xiaozu were secretly cursing Zhou Qingqing, "You idiot, your kneeling was in vain, wasn't it?" Zhou Qingqing's target is Chen Yi's mobile phone, but Taoran's target is Zhou Qingqing. The result can be imagined. Taoran was not polite. If Zhou Qingqing dared to come up, she would directly grab her hair. At the same time, she also raised her calf and kicked her out. You know, Taoran has been training in recent months and has made great progress in strength. He is no weaker than Zhou Qingqing. In addition, compared to Zhou Qingqing, who was in a panic and had weak legs, she had been taking a break and was on guard, so how could she suffer any loss? Therefore, although Zhou Qingqing shouted and beat her with great momentum and had Chen Xiao's help, she could not get any benefits. Before he could grab the phone, Taoran kicked him to the ground with all his strength, and Chen Xiao was also knocked down. Absurd. The next moment, Chen Jian was already standing in front of Chen Yi, Zhou Qingqing. If you don't want to apologize, just say it, why do you dare to do it? He was angry again. Not only because of Zhou Qingqing, but also because of Chen Xiao. Once again, this kid only remembered Zhou Qingqing as his sister, but forgot that Chen Yi was also his sister. Ma Xiaozu is also the elder of the two children. She wonders why her two children are so impulsive and usually so smart, but how come they lose their wits at the critical moment? She could only hold one child in each hand and hold on tightly to prevent them from going any further. "Dad, Chen Yi, she slapped me." Zhou Qingqing cried loudly. "Yes, husband, Qingqing is a big girl with thin skin and strong self-esteem." "How can I photograph her?" Ma Xiaozu also cried. "Dad, I don't want to do anything, I just want to stop her from patting me." "Husband, Qingqing did make a mistake first, but just now, you really can't blame Qingqing. That's enough for you. Singing and harmonizing, is it interesting? Do you think my dad is a fool?" Tao Ran interrupted sharply and then put the phone into Chen Jian's hand. "Zhou Qingqing, anyone who has a ghost in his heart looks like a ghost. You think too much. Are you a big star? What kind of top traffic are you? Who cares about taking pictures of you? Who do you think you are? Dad, you can see clearly, look for the albums and videos to see if I can secretly photograph or record them. If you do something like that, I don't want to even look at you. I only gave you a chance for Dad's sake. I just sent messages because I didn't want to see your inconsistent apology. Please stop pouring dirty water on me." Chen Jian's face became a little darker, he flipped through his phone, looked at the mother and daughter and sneered. Ma Xiaozu could see clearly from the sidelines. Indeed, there were no candid photos, no videos, nothing. Qingqing, this stupid kid. She cried out in her heart and pinched her daughter's waist hard. "You kid, why don't you quickly apologize to your sister again?" "No need," Tao Ran stood up, "I gave Zhou Qingqing a chance. If the peace talks failed, there is no need to talk anymore." Tao Ran never intended to forgive Zhou Qingqing, so how could he accept her apology? So he pretended to be filming on purpose, and sure enough, Zhou Qingqing was immediately hooked. In this way, Zhou Qingqing begged and knelt in vain, but she still returned to the starting point. The damage caused by this useless effort was enough to cause her internal injuries, right? "Tao Ran, Dad, I don't care about what happens next for you and my stepmother. I only say one thing, from now on, in this family, there will be me without Zhou Qingqing, and there will be Zhou Qingqing without me. Choose one of the two, you decide. Think about it and no, just give me a shout." After she finished speaking, she strode back to her room. Ma Xiaozu and the others were dumbfounded again. They also didn't expect that such a big fuss would not only fail to ease the tense family relations, but would further escalate the tension. Pick one of two. If Ma Xiaozu had a son in her hands before, she would naturally have nothing to fear. But now, she didn't need to think about it to know what Chen Jian would choose. Sure enough, in the next second, Chen Jian made a quick decision and mentioned two words again: divorce. The living room instantly became lively again. Zhou Qingqing patted her chest and said it was all her fault. She was responsible for her own actions and asked Chen Jian not to implicate her mother and younger brother. She cried and knelt in front of Chen Yi's door, asking Chen Yi to hold her hand high and not be so cruel to her mother for the sake of her younger brother. Ma Xiaozu's acting skills were over the top, and she seemed to have a severe headache while she was hesitating. She leaned on the sofa and began to cry, muttering, "I can't live anymore and I don't want to live." Chen Chao looked around, hugged Chen Jian and started crying. He probably felt that his previous begging was ineffective, so he became more intense this time, saying that if he became a child without a father, he would die with his mother. When Chen Jian heard this threat, he became even more angry. How could this child learn to cry, make trouble, and hang himself all at once? How could he be any different from a scoundrel when he just wanted to lie down and roll on the ground? He simply grabbed Chen Chao and threw him next to Ma Xiaozu. Okay. Since you are so capable, don't bother me. I will see how you plan to die. Chen Chao cried loudly, Dad beat me. Dad is partial. Dad only likes Chen Yi. The whole room was so lively that it was comparable to the Spring Festival Gala. At this time, the door was knocked. It turned out that reinforcements had arrived brought by Ma Xiaozu. After knowing that her daughter was in trouble, she quickly went to the bathroom and called the Chen family's 3 aunts and 6 wives to break up the fight. In the past, in order to fight for the rights and interests of herself and her children, she got along better with these Chen family members than her own family. Look, isn't it coming in handy now? As soon as the aunts arrived, they began to do ideological work around Chen Jian. They praised Ma Xiaozu for her many years of contribution and efforts in raising children, and emphasized the difficulties of being a stepmother. Chen Jian only said one sentence from beginning to end, I will never let my biological daughter be wronged again. Ma Xiaozu and her daughter once again realized that if they want to save everything, the most important thing is Chen Yi. Zhou Qingqing, who was being held up by relatives on the left and right but still knelt in front of Chen Yi's door and refused to get up, decided to make good use of these relatives after receiving the sympathy and heartache from all the relatives. After biting her lip and admitting her mistake and asking for forgiveness, she suddenly tilted her whole body, rolled her eyelids, and fell to the ground with a thud, and fainted. Following Ma Xiaozu's scream, there was chaos in front of the door. The aunts couldn't bear it anymore. They hurriedly put Zhou Qingqing on the sofa, jumped up and scolded Chen Jian for being unreasonable, and started filming even more vigorously. Chen Yi's door, asking her to come out quickly. Xiaoi, please come out and see your sister. That's almost it. If you keep doing this, your rationale will become irrelevant. Your sister was already frightened today, and it's too much to let her kneel like this. Why are you so cruel? As a child, you don't expect your mother to kneel down to you, right? Look at what's going on at home. Don't you understand the importance of family and everything being prosperous? Your mother also has a headache and just took a lot of medicine. If you really feel sorry for your father, stop doing it. How can any sister not fight? If your biological sisters are like this, can't you be more tolerant? The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 184. In just a few minutes, Chen Yi became the target of public criticism. The 3 aunts and the 6 wives were reasonable and determined that Zhou Qingqing's fainting, Ma Xiaozu's headache, and Chen Chao's shock were all caused by Chen Yi's actions. No matter how you looked at it, she was intolerant, not generous, too aggressive, too bullying, too domineering and unreasonable, and too unruly. Surly. It seems that as long as she doesn't back down, forgive, reconcile, or nod her head, she is unfilial, unjust, disrespectful, and unworthy of being the daughter of this family. He. Tao Ran was depressed. There are so many demons and monsters, why can't she be purified? But these people really don't need to give face. Could it be that part of Chen Yi's bullying that day came from these people? Regardless of whether they judge people based on their appearance, are unjust for their own gain, or are following the crowd, in short, there is nothing wrong with these elders who can criticize a child. Tao Ran stood up and opened the door with a bang. I don't know if she opened the door too quickly and caused a gust of wind, or her eyes were too sharp and cold, but in short, she silenced all the people who were talking about Balabala just now. The air froze for a second. I said, who is kidnapping me morally? The corners of Tao Ran's lips raised and he gave a sarcastic smile. So there are so many messengers of justice in the family who are willing to fight against injustice, but not relatives. The air condenses again. But 2 seconds later, it became lively again. What is this kid talking about? Chen Jian, look at how this child has been spoiled. Is this the way you talk to your elders? If this is my daughter, see if I don't beat her to death. So it's not easy to be a stepmother, and it's really not easy to be a stepmother. We can't beat her or scold her. We just said a few words to her, but what's her attitude? No wonder her stepmother's headache has never been cured. Chen Jian, you have also seen this child's problem. Now your family has to deal with it. Where is the crux of the problem? You should take a good look at it. Tao Ran didn't talk nonsense with these people and allowed them to arrange things as they pleased, approaching Zhou Qingqing step by step. On the sofa, Zhou Qingqing was lying calmly, Ma Xiaozu was wiping tears beside her, and Chen Chao was staring at Tao Ran with his tearful eyes. What's up with her? Probably, I was stimulated a few times today, I was a little too emotional, so I fainted, Ma Xiaozu said cautiously. Is it my fault? Why, how could it be possible? Qingqing is already a little anemic. Did you hear that? Tao Ran looked at the enthusiastic ants. I'm just telling you, I didn't even touch her or scold her, so why are there so many people putting this shit on my head? Zhou Qingqing's eyelids twitched, and she almost jumped up. Who is shitting? Who is shit? What the hell? Tao Ran faced Ma Xiaozu. What about you? Is your headache caused by me? No, it's not. Yes, you have had headaches since I can remember. If I remember correctly, you got the disease when you and your ex-husband were together, right? I heard that you committed suicide later, which made the disease serious. Yes or no? The corners of Ma Xiaozu's mouth twitched. Damn girl, you won't open any pot. So, what does it have to do with me that your mother and daughter are sick, in pain, and faint? Tao Ran glanced at his aunts again. Then why do you talk nonsense and frame and slander me? You kid, why don't you know what's good? It's so irritating. Your mother cannot recover because of your illness. Your sister is also angry with you. Tao Ran didn't bother to pay attention to them anymore and just sat down on the coffee table facing Zhou Qingqing. Zhou Qingqing, stop pretending. Wake up quickly. Chen Chao gritted his teeth. My sister is not pretending. Ma Xiaozu wiped away tears. Xiaoi, Qingqing is not pretending. Zhou Qingqing, it's none of your business to pretend or not. I'll wake up if you tell me to. Chen Yi, don't go too far. The ants started again. Tao Ran took his cell phone and called the time in front of everyone. Zhou Qingqing, I'll give you 3 minutes. If you don't wake up, I'll call the police. What? You want to sue us for defamation? The ants were not afraid and just put their hands on their hips. That's not true. But you keep saying that I was the one who harmed Zhou Qingqing. I have to prove my innocence. The police still care about your business. Of course, Tao Ran smiled. Don't look at the injuries on Zhou Qingqing's body. They were all beaten by her mother. Now I suspect that the reason why Zhou Qingqing fainted was because she was beaten by her mother. To avoid unnecessary trouble, it is better to leave this matter to let the police handle it. Everyone. Ma Xiaozu, MMP. The police will definitely check Zhou Qingqing carefully to see why she fainted. Is it because of domestic violence? Zhou Qingqing, there is still 1.5 minutes. There is surveillance at home. Why did your mother hit you with a feather duster? It was all filmed. So we have evidence of domestic violence. We will definitely not let you be wronged. 50 seconds. And you ran to kneel in front of my room. It was your own idea and had nothing to do with me. 40 seconds. But you have to be mentally prepared. No matter what the reason for your fainting is, as long as it is confirmed that your mother is experiencing domestic violence, she will not be able to escape and will have to go in and squat for a while. So, if you don't want your mother to be caught, wake up quickly, otherwise, don't blame me. The last 15 seconds. Tao Ran stood up and everyone was stunned. Especially Ma Xiaozu, She never expected such an operation. 5 seconds. Tao Ran has quit the timer. Ma Xiaozu's face was ashen. Ching ching. The mobile phone page has been opened to the dial button. D, D, D. The 3 numbers have been pressed. Just as Tao Ran was about to press the green call button, Ma Xiaozu shouted, "Wake up, wake up, ching ching wake up." Tao Ran, ft. Everyone. Zhou Qingqing's eyes were as wide as bells, and she just wanted to tear Chen Yi apart. How do they play? How to continue playing? Her mother beat her, and there were physical evidence and many marks left on her body. If she was investigated, it would be a certainty. Who dares to bet? When her mother is detained, everything will be over. Zhou Qingqing was so angry that she didn't know why she always lost to Chen Yi no matter how she played. The atmosphere was awkward. That mother and daughter were disgraceful. "Let's go," Chen Jian said in a muffled voice. The ants have been hanging on their backs for a long time, and they are eager to leave as soon as possible. It's so embarrassing. They all supported the mother and daughter just now, but who would have thought that they would tear off their masks and turn them into clowns instead? The elders like them have become such a joke in front of the juniors. How will they see them in the future? Anyway, they will no longer care about this family's affairs. The 3 ants and 6 women who felt so embarrassed all disappeared in just 1 minute. The air seems to have gone back to sub-zero. Chen Jian kept his head lowered, feeling deeply defeated. He had not experienced all these things in person before, but he had witnessed the entire scene that had just happened. Thank you all for your monthly votes. Thank you Runda. The book Friends Tale number is 22,576. The book Friends Tale number is 11,482. Xianglong 110 and other babies rewards. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 185. After 2 rounds, everything is back to where it started. Ma Xiaozu, who really didn't want a divorce, had a particularly low attitude. In order to make Chen Jian regress, she even said that she could send Zhou Qingqing to live with her grandmother for a while, and then rent a house nearby for her daughter after school started. In this way, the 2 children can be separated. She planned to use this method of compromise to satisfy her previous stepdaughter's request of having me without her, having her without me. Tao Ran raised his eyebrows without comment. Ma Xiaozu finally carried the old lady out, saying that they were all adults and the old lady could no longer worry about them. Everyone understood the unfulfilled meaning. If Chen Jian did not back down, she would go talk to the old lady. If she said something wrong in a hurry, it would not be helpful to the old lady. For Chen Jian, who always reported good news but not bad news in front of the old lady, this one really caught him. The same goes for Tao Ran. In order to save her marriage, Ma Xiaozu will probably do anything. In fact, Tao Ran didn't want Chen Jian and Ma Xiaozu to divorce now. Why? As soon as they leave, Ma Xiaozu can not only take away a lot of wealth, but also not receive any punishment. In the plot, they took 2 lives. After the divorce, as long as Chen Qiao is still around, they will still be worms attached to Chen Jian. Chen Jian is soft-hearted and cannot ignore them. Chen Qiao is his biological son and he has the right to inherit property. Rather than that, it's better to just keep them in front of you. Let's hurt each other, it depends on who has the stronger fighting ability. Xiaoi, after all, we are a family that has been together for many years. This friendship can't be broken up like this. You give Mom a chance. Nothing is absolute. If you have any ideas, why don't you say it? As long as Mom can do it, you can do it. I can promise you. Tao Ran was speechless. Qingqing was wrong this time. In addition to apologizing, Mother can compensate you. What do you want? Compensation. Tao Ran narrowed his eyes. That's not necessary. However, you must give me what you owe me. I owe you, what? Since we are a family, we must be fair, right? If you want to be my mother, there is no reason to only treat Zhou Qingqing as your daughter. I don't ask for anything else, just treat me and Zhou Qingqing equally. Tao Ran rubbed his fingers. Forget it about daily expenses, I just want birthday gifts. Every year on my birthday, you are just fooling me. You have to make up for 8 years of birthday gifts for me. Okay, Ma Xiaozu and Chen Jian spent all the living expenses. Card, but the gifts she gave to her biological children were taken from her private room. Since Ma Xiaozu had to stay at home, she naturally had to do some bleeding. Don't want it for nothing. Okay, Mom promises you, isn't this a simple birthday gift? 1,000 yuan apiece, 10,000 yuan can be done. He is a child after all, easy to manipulate. Just agree. My requirements are not high. An 8-year gift is the same as Zhou Qingqing's. Last year, the gift you gave Zhou Qingqing was a Xiang family bag, and I want the same. The year before last, your gift to Zhou Qingqing was a front row concert ticket worth 8,000, and I want it too. 2 years ago, you gave her a set of 7 crystal hairpins from the Shi family. The year before last year, you deliberately said you would take her back to your hometown to visit relatives, but you actually took her to travel to Japan. Tao Ran Balabala recounted all the differences between Zhou Qingqing and Chen Yi in terms of birthdays in the past 8 years. This girl, Chen Yi, has never mentioned this before adults. But she remembered all of this very clearly. The greater the gap between her and Zhou Qingqing, the more she envied other people's mothers, and the more inferior she became, which also made her value the relationship with her father more. Therefore, she has always been cautious for her father. They also knew that she would tolerate it, so the mother and daughter never concealed their deep love for each other. They used this method to repeatedly stimulate the child, which ultimately made Chen Yi more autistic and unlovable. Now Tao Ran deliberately revealed all these reluctances, just to show Chen Jian how well behaved his daughter was and how blind he was. Xiaoi, there is a misunderstanding. So you just said you wanted to compensate me, or were you lying? In one sentence, give it to me or not. Then what kind of concert? Just convert it into money and give it to me. It's the same for traveling. Just convert the cost of air tickets and accommodation and food. Also, didn't you prepare a big gift for Zhou Qingqing's birthday this year? I want an exact one too. What kind of gift? Isn't it a limited edition bracelet? Did you make a mistake? Chen Xiao was still showing off in front of me yesterday, saying that you bought Zhou Qingqing a bracelet worth 80,000 yuan, saying that I don't have mother's pain, and I can only eat 80 yuan of cake for my birthday, and you want me to open my eyes wide. Take a good look to see if the bracelet gleams. This is the sequelae of the necklace given by Grandpa Hai Song. Zhou Qingqing was jealous of Chen Yi's limited edition necklace. He was unhappy that his surname was not Chen, and he got into moods every day. Ma Xiaozu always loves her daughter. In order to calm her daughter down and cooperate with their actions in the nursing home, she can only agree to give Zhou Qingqing a bracelet of the same brand as Chen Yi on her birthday this month. But the two people couldn't stand it anymore and came to Chen Yi early to show off. So, Xiao Chao is just a child. What can he understand? It's just nonsense. Just tell me whether you want to give it or not. Dad, I plan to move to a nursing home. Give. An hour later, the new silver bracelet that originally belonged to Zhou Qingqing arrived in Chen Yi's hands. Well, plus a big red envelope. A full 80,000 yuan. Ma Xiaozu, who breathed out hundreds of thousands in one breath, was breathing heavily. Thank you, stepmother. You can take the 80,000 yuan at any time. You even gave it to me as a birthday present for my biological daughter. You are either wealthy or you must have true love for my dad. Tao Ran smiled brightly and was so angry that he would not pay for it. Ching Ching, don't be angry with your mother. The overall situation comes first. It's not easy for your mother either. Be more considerate of her. Zhou Ching Ching cried angrily. For the first time in her life, she cried because she was really wronged. Stepmom, where is the invoice for this bracelet? What do you want the invoice for? Without the invoice, who knows if it's genuine or fake? I'm short-sighted and can't tell the difference between genuine and fake. What if it's a fake? Ma Xiaozu felt her chest was tight and wanted to vomit blood, so she had to look for the invoice. Tao Ran nodded with satisfaction. I feel at ease once I have the invoice. If I don't like it tomorrow, I can still sell it. Seeing Zhou Qingqing's eyes filled with tears, Tao Ran also looked aggrieved. Do you really like this bracelet? She squatted down in front of Zhou Qingqing. Zhou Qingqing glared at Tao Ran. Nonsense, this is her favorite one, she has been choosing it for a long time. Then I reluctantly part ways with you. Is it possible? Although Zhou Qingqing didn't believe it, there was a glimmer of hope subconsciously in her eyes. Well, as a sister, naturally I can't compete with you, a sister who celebrates her birthday. So, I don't want you 200,000, I don't want you 100,000, I only want 99,999, now. I'll part ways immediately. Zhou Qingqing's eyes were red with anger, she held her head and screamed wildly, stumbled against the door and rushed into the room. Then I heard a series of crackling sounds. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 186. Early the next morning, after a touching and reluctant farewell crying scene, Zhou Qingqing was sent to the countryside. Mother and son all tried their best. But Chen Jian is hard-hearted and has no emotion in his eyes. Chen Yi, on the other hand, was all smiles, talking nonsense, and packed melon seeds and peanut mineral water instant noodles for Zhou Qingqing to eat on the road. Zhou Qingqing was so angry that he wanted to explode several times, but Ma Xiaozu covered his mouth, almost holding in his internal injuries. Ma Xiaozu is soberer than Zhou Qingqing. The daughter offended Wang Shu's father, so it was a good thing to leave him for a while. Just enough to calm Chen Jian down, the fragrance is far away and the smell is near, everything will be fine. Chen Jian made 3 chapters to Ma Xiaozu. Chen Jian said that if she or Zhou Qingqing did anything inappropriate and harmful to Chen Yi again, he would divorce her regardless of the consequences. Ma Xiaozu vowed to treat Chen Yi well and not let her be wronged. However, Ma Xiaozu, who temporarily relieved Chen Jian, did not have an easy time. Because the next day, when she was taking her son to class, she was stopped outside the community by Wang Shu's father. Let's talk. Ma Xiaozu could only bite the bullet and talk. You know what I'm going to say? Give me money. Qingqing and you Wang Shu are both responsible for what happened before. We are willing to bear half of the compensation. 100,000. Father Wang sneered. Are you dreaming? My son used money to do things. Later, you said that the money was lent to you and has been returned to you. My son did things for your family for nothing and took the blame. He didn't receive a penny. You find out, my son is squatting for your daughter now. Is life easy there? Not only is there no freedom, but there is also a stain. The compensation is worth 10,000 a day no matter what. So you have to give me $5, the money your daughter asked my son to do, including principal and interest, 100,000. The court awarded 200,000 yuan in compensation. The compensation for my son is 10,000 yuan a day, a total of 900,000 yuan. Because my son's future is affected, he will need 200,000 yuan for management in the future. Add in the 100,000 yuan for the hard work of our brothers, a fixed price, a total of 1.5 million. I don't have that much money. Although my husband has money, the money doesn't belong to me. So. Shut up. It's none of my business whether you have money or not. Your husband doesn't want compensation just because my family has no money, right? Father Wang took a sip. If it hadn't been for what Zhou Qingqing did to me yesterday, I would probably still have some mercy, but this time, don't even think about it. 1.5 million, not a penny less. If you don't agree. Father Wang glanced at Ma Xiaozu and Chen Chao on the side. You three, mother and son, will not have a good life in the future. Ma Xiaozu sneered again and again. Why do you think of her as the CEO's wife? If she was really that rich and could get money from the company so easily, would she really try her best to destroy Chen Yi's successor in the company? The whole world thinks Chen Jian is an honest man, but is he actually a monkey spirit? Most of his property belonged to him before marriage, so what can she take? Although he usually doesn't restrict her money use, she can only swipe her credit card. She had never been able to get an entire sum of money from him. She wants to save money, but most of the time she can only find a way from her own salary and expenses. She has been with him for many years and has only saved less than 2 million for her private house in total. Yesterday, she spent more than 100,000 yuan. If this money was taken out, wouldn't she be back to her original form? But it's not a problem if you keep being harassed. Ma Xiaozu's nails dug deeply into her flesh. 1.5 million is not a small amount. I only have 100,000 on me now. One price, you have to give me 200,000 today, which is considered a deposit. The rest of the money. I'll give you time. Father Wan curled his lips. I will come to collect money from you from time to time in the future. Tao Ran's life during the following summer was still fulfilling. In addition to studying, she also applied for a fitness card. Running, aerobics, swimming, and kickboxing, she spends 2 to 3 hours in the gym every day. Although the weight has been lost very slowly, my overall shape is completely different from that of more than 3 months ago. In addition, Tao Ran deliberately trains the body's muscle memory, so he is particularly dedicated when fighting with the coach every day. She already had a foundation in Kung Fu, but now that her physical strength and agility have improved, her fighting ability has also improved by leaps and bounds. She believed that it wouldn't be long before she would be in the same situation where she was besieged by ruffians a few months ago. Facts have proved that the flag cannot be set easily. On a doggy afternoon, with a high temperature of almost 40 degrees, Tao Ran hesitated and decided to go to the gym for a swim as usual. She walked out of the community with her bag, but the taxi she called hadn't arrived yet, so she could only wait on the roadside with an umbrella. The cicadas were chirping and there were almost no cars or people on the road. When she was sleepy, she couldn't help but yawn. Before she could close her open mouth, she suddenly saw a motorcycle that was moving smoothly veered off course, and the bridle was heading straight towards her. The car was less than 10 meters away from him in an instant, and Tao Ran broke into a cold sweat. At that time, the body reacts faster than the brain. At the critical moment, the umbrella in her right hand was thrown out, and her left hand was wrapped around the big tree next to her. Using the tree as a fulcrum, she relied on her arm strength to forcefully swing across her body, barely avoiding the bridle of the car. After circling half a circle, she closed the automatic umbrella with her backhand. While calling for help, she stabbed the motorcycle rider with the umbrella head one after another. The motorcycle braked with an unpleasant sound and stopped beside the tree. The man obviously didn't expect to lose his hand at such a close range. He shouted accident, sorry, but his arm was hit horizontally. But Tao Ran is no longer what he used to be. He used the tree as a cover and the umbrella as a tool to dodge left and right. He didn't suffer any losses and even stabbed the man several times. When the man grabbed the umbrella with one hand, she also stabbed her hard on the back of his hand. The guard heard the cry for help, and the security guards rushed over. When the man saw that something was wrong, the bridle sped up, and after a roar, he and the car disappeared in the blink of an eye. And when the man left, he was still emphasizing, "I'm sorry, it was an accident." Tao Ran let out a heavy breath. It's too risky. The speed of the car when it rushed towards her was at least 60 or 70 yards. If she was hit, she would be either dead or disabled. Too cruel. The guards helped call the police and set up surveillance cameras. The police arrived, but Tao Ran didn't know anything about it. The man was wearing a leather jacket and leather trousers, and a helmet, with his entire head completely covered. Not only was his appearance unknown, but his age and height could not be determined. There was also news from the traffic police that the motorcycle license plate was also fake. What Tao Ran was certain of was that this was definitely no accident. The other party is still prepared. Because yesterday, Chen Jian happened to be on a business trip and went to City A, thousands of miles away. It was calculated that she would have no one to look after and help her, and if she fell, she would be at the mercy of others. Whether he is dead or alive, whether he is light or heavy, they are all controlled by others. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 187. When Tao Ran returned home, in front of the police, he had a violent attack on Ma Xiaozu, who had just been woken up from her nap. What do you mean? Are you saying that I paid to kill someone? Ma Xiaozu looked in disbelief. What are you kidding about? I am innocent, you can't wrongly accuse me. Ma Xiaozu looked confused, as if she really didn't know anything. Tao Ran failed to see the flaw in her expression. Police uncles, please remember my stepmother. Whenever something happens to me in the future, please be the first to investigate her. She wants my family's property, so she has set me up many times. I suspect that she instigated the motorcycle rider. Ma Xiaozu's eyes suddenly turned red and she shouted that she was wronged. You kid, you've offended so many people, why are you talking so freely? How do you know it's not Wang Shu and the others? It's not Wang Shu's father? Isn't it because of the few school security guards who were expelled because of you, or the other little gangsters under investigation? Are you like this? You bit me when you came up, and I suspected that you were directing and acting to harm me. If it's not you, then it's Zhou Qingqing, you two have the biggest motive. Tao Ran sat down with his arms crossed. Let me tell you, my dad has hired someone to protect me a long time ago. You are lucky today. I asked the bodyguard to go back first, otherwise you would have been caught today. Tao Ran really didn't know who the murderer was. So now she can only deceive Ma Xiaozu and warn her at the same time. She was quite suspicious of Ma Xiaozu. Who knows the time of Chen Jian's departure and his own schedule best? You deserve to be wronged. However, this matter still became an unsolved case. All of Ma Xiaozu's recent itineraries, including her mobile phone records, were checked. Clean and clear. She hasn't been out much recently and is not suspected of being a murderer. The police also checked all the people who had any problems with Chen Yi, and no one was suspected. The motorcycle was also found at a junkyard. The motorcycle was assembled and the original owner could not be found. Moreover, there was indeed a problem with the brakes and braking system. So maybe this is really an accident? Then this matter can only be left alone. Tao Ran was speechless, but there was nothing he could do. Fortunately, after this incident, no matter who wants to deal with her, they will probably not go against the wind and do it easily for the time being. School was about to start in 10 days, and Tao Ran decided to devote these last few days to Ma Xiaozu. She planned to have a good time with the stepmother. Otherwise, it was because she suspected Ma Xiaozu the most. If Ma Xiaozu really hired the murderer, it would be impossible for her to leave no trace at all. Even if we can't catch her, maybe we can discover her little secret? There is surveillance at home, so Masayozo can't do anything, so if she is dishonest, she will definitely go out. Chenyi was underage and couldn't hire a private detective, so she had to do it herself. In order to prevent Masayozo from discovering the clues, Taoran went out at his usual time every day and took a taxi to leave. However, she was not far away, and taking a taxi only took a circle around 2 nearby streets. In the car, she dressed up a little, put on a hat, a coat, and a mask, and got off the car near the community as if she were a different person. Then she got into the black car she had packed and was waiting on the road outside the community, just waiting for Masayozo to go out. Then follow up. Taoran is rich. Chen Jian was afraid of wronging her, so he gave her plenty of pocket money, opened a bank account for her, and deposited 100,000 yuan in it. She returned the necklace she had plundered from Masayozo. Since it was still within the guaranteed return and exchange period, it was refunded in full. Plus the 80,000 that Masayozo gave her, she had almost 300,000 in savings. Therefore, although her immature face made the chartered car driver hesitate, she succeeded in making the driver pay for $10 a day after generously offering $600 a day, including gas, food, cold drinks, and the rest, and waiting time was much longer than the running time. 2-hour standby in front of the community. Taoran rented a car and followed Masayozo for 3 days, but found nothing, which made her almost want to give up. But that night, Masayozo had a big argument with Zhou Qingqing on the phone for some unknown reason, and ended up hitting Chen Xiao twice unnaturally. It seemed that the couple made her extremely dissatisfied. Masayozo didn't know what she was angry about. The next day, her face was still ugly. Taoran decided to stay with her for 3 more days. That afternoon, Masayozo went out 40 minutes early to pick up her son from the children's palace. This is not right. Outside the children's palace, there is no place to enjoy the shade. The sun is scorching hot, and you have to be crazy to wait in the sun for so long. Moreover, today's Masayozo changed from her usual dress of a rich lady with a dress, stilettos, a big brimmed hat and heavy makeup. Not only did her makeup fade by half, but her arms and legs were not exposed. She had big sunglasses on her nose, a slumped face, and a windy walk, as if the whole world owed her 1.8 million. In short, it's even more abnormal. Sure enough, on the road just 1 street away from the children's palace, Masayozo's car turned left and stopped in front of a tea house. Taoran looked at her angry face and entered the tea house carrying a handbag. Here, let's go have a cup of tea. Be natural. Taoran took 200 and gave it to the driver. After a few days, the driver has become accustomed to this. Yesterday, he was ordered to pretend to be a parent and stand in front of the children's palace, just to listen to what Masayozo was saying on the phone. Who knows that this little girl is interesting and rich, she can always easily drive him. After several attempts, he felt that he had some acting talent. After finishing this job, he considered whether he should try his luck in the film and television city, or consider becoming a private detective. There's nothing to follow. Let's go into a private room. The driver came out 10 minutes later. There should be someone waiting in the private room early in the morning. When I passed by, I heard someone talking in a low voice, but I couldn't hear what was said. By the way, the woman must be in a bad mood. I only heard 2 words she said when she was angry. Second, rough. How rough is it, tell me? The driver looked at Taoran and said, not suitable for children, it's hard to listen to. Oh. Taoran raised his eyebrows. Masayozo is violent? The kind of rough that doesn't fit the description? In Chenyi's memory, Masayozo has always been gentle, kind, and gentle, and there has never been such a time. So, did she explode because she was angry, or did she reveal her true nature? She has been angry for 2 days. What is she angry about? The cause seemed to be because of the siblings. Did they do something that she needed to deal with? But as Chaoran got used to being an actor, he couldn't help but start to wonder, under what circumstances would an average person show his true nature regardless of pretense. 5 minutes later, Ma Xiaozu came out. The driver was about to start the car and follow, but was stopped by Chaoran. Not with her at this time, she must have gone to the children's palace to pick up her son. With her, it would be better to see who is with her. This tea house only has this door, right? Yes, I have seen it. Then just wait. After waiting for a full 20 minutes, the driver went into the tea house to pack another cup of tea, and then waited for the person in the private room to come out. Chaoran, who was well prepared, quickly turned the telescope and observed carefully. That's right, the handbag Ma Xiaozu was holding earlier has already been in this person's hands. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 188. This is a man. Chaoran didn't recognize him. In Chen Yi's memory, he couldn't remember who this was. But, it looks familiar. Very familiar. The man held his bag to his chest, with a proud look on his face, whistling, and swayed out of the tea house. There is a high probability that there is money in that heavy handbag, right? The back of his right hand on his chest. There is a round purple mark on it. How could Chaoran not recognize that location and mark? That day, she struggled with her right hand to poke the umbrella head into the motorcyclist's hand. It was in that position and the size matched the shape of the umbrella head. With that poke, bruises are inevitable, and these days should be the time to loosen the bruises, so the bruises are also right. Is this man the one who tried to attack me that day? So what he was holding in his hand was Ma Xiaozu's murder money. Looking at his frivolous behavior, he really doesn't look like a good person. Sure enough, that matter has nothing to do with Ma Xiaozu. The man did not take a taxi to leave. He only walked to the intersection and entered a small hotel. Judging from his familiar appearance, he must have stayed in this hotel. From out of town? Chaoran scratched his head. If Ma Xiaozu wants to hire a murderer, there's no need to find someone from other places, right? Does she know anyone who does this kind of thing in other places? But the police didn't find any record of her recent contact with strangers. It would have been very conspicuous to outsiders. How could the police not find out? No, Ma Xiaozu has been very angry with her children recently. Could it be that Zhou Qingqing caused the trouble and Ma Xiaozu came to help wipe the mess? When he thought of Zhou Qingqing, Chaoran's mind suddenly brightened. Oh my God! She knows. No wonder I always thought this man looked familiar, he looked very similar to Zhou Qingqing. Daughter Xiao's father, isn't this Zhou Qingqing's father? As soon as this speculation came out, it was out of control. Zhou Qingqing's father is a bastard. He was a scumbag with a very bad reputation in the local area many years ago. He was addicted to gambling and drinking. He stole money and abandoned his wife and daughter. There has been no news for many years. Could it be that Zhou Qingqing contacted him this time? The more Chaoran thought about it, the more he felt it was. Driving on the street and injuring people is a stupid idea and can easily be implicated. As the number one suspect, Ma Xiaozu will not risk using such a method or being booked by the police. Such a violent method is different from the previous one. Zhou Qingqing colluded with Wang Shu and used the same method to instigate Wang's father. Could it be that school would start in a few days, so Zhou Qingqing decided to keep doing nothing until she was done with herself, so she secretly contacted her biological father? The other side killed it first and then reported it, so even Ma Xiaozu was caught off guard. So is this the reason why Ma Xiaozu was so angry, but had no choice but to help clean up the aftermath? Chaoran felt anxious and hurried to follow. As soon as the man entered the hotel, he was stopped by the front desk. The man smiled playfully and teased the front desk clerk, asking if he hadn't seen him for a long time, as if he missed him after 3 autumns. The girl at the front desk looked disgusted, but she could only keep her expression straight and asked him if he had to pay the rent for the next few days. "You haven't paid for room 405 for 3 days. And it's already 4 o'clock in the afternoon. If you check out now, today will be counted as half a day's room charge." Tao Ran, who had just followed him to the lobby, had a thought in his mind: room in 405. It took no effort at all. She had originally thought about how to get more specific information about the man. If she knew the room number, it would be much easier. Tao Ran calmly sat down in the corner of the hall, pretending to be waiting for someone. "Pay, just smile at the young lady's unforgettable smile. You have to pay this money quickly." The man opened a handbag he had been holding on his chest, took out a wad of money, clicked a few and went to the front desk. In hand. When handing over the money, he didn't forget to rub the girl's hand. "Miss, would you like to go to my room for a cup of tea?" The man also shook off the money in his hand. While Tao Ran cursed in secret, he also confirmed that Ma Xiaozu had indeed put a lot of money in the bag. The man got on the elevator, and Tao Ran raised his head and thought for a while. What she wanted to confirm was just her guess about this person's relationship with Ma Xiaozu and Zhou Qingqing. "So, you don't actually need to go to the front desk to peek at the check-in information, right?" She had to try her best to do this without alerting others. "There is a way." She quickly opened the takeout app on her phone and searched for nearby delicacies. 20 minutes later, a takeaway was placed at the front desk. "It is a smelling stinky tofu. Don't leave it here, call the person who ordered the food to come down and pick it up." The lady at the front desk held her nose unhappily and stopped the delivery boy. "This smell is a bit too much at the front desk." The little brother was helpless. "There is no phone number on the takeout order. There is only the address." The young lady at the front desk took a look and it was true. There is only a hotel address, but no name and phone number. "But the room number is 405. When she thought of the man who behaved obscenely, the young lady snorted, her face darkened, and she even suspected that the man did it on purpose. She dialed the landline angrily. "Mr. Zhou, did you order takeout? Please come to the front desk to pick it up. The smell is too pungent." "No. Then I will throw it away." "Okay. Maybe it's a mistake, okay. Excuse me." Tao Ran, on the other hand, had already gotten up. "Mr. Zhou? Mr. Zhou?" Sure enough, his surname is Zhou. The same surname as Zhou Qingqing. Right? No wonder Ma Xiaozu could completely ignore the pretense in front of this man and show her true nature by swearing. "Because it's an old friend. Hee hee." After walking out of the hotel, Tao Ran called the delivery man and told him that the address was wrong and asked him to pick up the food. Naturally, she would not leave any clues or let the delivery boy run away in vain. She sent him a red envelope and told him that he did not want this takeaway. Although she didn't catch any real clues on this trip, not even a photo of Zhang Ma Xiaozu and a man in the same frame, it wasn't a loss. She at least knew that Ma Xiaozu still had contact with her ex-husband, had financial dealings, and could even see her whenever she wanted. So Ma Xiaozu still lied to Chen Jian. Looking at it this way, what happened back then was less like the man running away with money, and more like Ma Xiaozu and her ex-husband cooperating for a win-win future. Chen Jian, that idiot, was indeed given a good job. Thinking of not being disrespectful, Tao Ran passed by a public phone on his way home from fitness that night, and a report phone was called, indicating that a guest in room 405 of a hotel had stolen a bag of money from a lady in sunglasses at XXT House. She saw injustice on the road and was afraid of retaliation, so she reported it anonymously. That package of money is worth 200,000 anyway. The man named Joe is a gangster and has no stable financial income. He certainly cannot clearly explain the source of the money. Then the police will definitely be suspicious. Regardless of whether the man involved the money from Masayozu, as soon as the police checked the tea house surveillance, they would definitely ask Masayozu to cooperate with the investigation. Then the matter of Masayozu's involvement with that man would inevitably come to light, and naturally it would not be hidden from Chen Jian. If the money that Masayozu inexplicably gave to the gangster's ex-husband is traced, it might be a breakthrough in Chen Yi's attack a few days ago. Is it considered an accident? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 189. Tao Ran's thoughts were still too beautiful. Plans often don't change as fast as they do. That night, the police arrived after receiving a report from the masses but found nothing. It wasn't that the news was leaked, but that the man checked out and left the city in the evening. Because there is no one at 405, the report is not valid. Tao Ran couldn't help but sigh. Masayozu probably gave the money just to send the man away. Those people were more cautious than she expected. If she wants to help Chen Yi take revenge, she still has to design a trap. In the following period, Masayozu never showed any signs of weakness. 3 o'clock and one line every day, very regular. Zhou Qingqing came back from the countryside. Masayozu rented a small apartment in the same building for her to take care of her, and hired an aunt to take care of her. After a period of integration of Chen Jian's company, there will be very few opportunities for business trips in the future. He has fulfilled his previous promise and spent most of his time with his family. And Tao Ran is also ready to welcome the third grade of junior high school with full enthusiasm. She must help Chen Yi take this step steadily. By the first day of her third year of junior high school, she had successfully maintained her weight at 115. Although I am still 10 pounds away from my goal, it is only a matter of time. With her new look, the physical education teacher waiting for her at the school gate almost didn't dare to recognize her. Energetic and positive, she is very popular with teachers and classmates, and she still maintains her enthusiasm for studying and high self-discipline. With her around, the learning atmosphere has improved again. With such a benchmark, the whole class is working hard. There are many who are immersed in reading. A week after the school started, during the class leader selection, she actually won the appointment of study committee member with a high number of votes. In comparison, Zhou Qingqing's life was completely different. First, she is not motivated. The second reason is because Wang Shu came out. Wang Shu hated Zhou Qingqing so much, how could he not embarrass her? However, they probably learned a lesson because of being imprisoned, so Wang Shu and others were much more careful when doing things again, and most of the time they would try to avoid doing things directly in school. Wang Shu also refused and deliberately repaid Zhou Qingqing for what he had done to Chen Yi that day, making Zhou Qingqing experience the feeling of being bullied every day. Even Masayozu's car had been punctured with nails and splashed with dirt many times. Zhou Qingqing didn't want to see Chen Yi at school, and she didn't want to endure the mocking looks of her classmates because she and Chen Yi had switched statuses, so she started skipping school. As the old saying goes, it takes 3 years to learn well and 3 days to learn badly. Zhou Qingqing, whose grades plummeted, missed the first monthly exam. He was deemed right for a fight with a classmate, and the good student he once was gone forever. Masayozu tried to persuade her daughter to no avail, but Zhou Qingqing scolded her that it was useless. She had a big quarrel with her and even ran away from home. Masayozu was in a state of despair. Both her families were not well off, and she was quite exhausted. The relationship between Chen Jian and Masayozu has not broken through. Although they live in the same home, they are completely different from each other and have no intersection. It's not like Masayozu didn't think of a way. But it's too difficult. Not only is Chen Jian difficult to deal with, but Chen Yi is too hateful. For example, on the anniversary of her wedding to Chen Jian, after making arrangements for her son, she went to the company to surprise Chen Jian, who was working overtime. Everyone in the office suddenly remembered this day and ordered flowers and cakes for them to congratulate them. Ma Xiaozu knew Chen Jian very well and knew that he wanted to save face and would not show off his face in front of so many people, so he took the initiative to show off his affection. The administration also booked a restaurant for them, and Ma Xiaozu pulled Chen Jian to beg, asking him to give her a chance to have a meal together. Chen Jian saw that there were many people making noises, but he said, "Everyone, come together, I'm treating you." The two arranged a company dinner. Although Ma Xiaozu was angry, she immediately thought of a plan. A group of people were eating and drinking, and accidentally, many people drank too much. Chen Jian is the male protagonist, so naturally he was drunk and soon became confused. Ma Xiaozu made a good calculation and agreed to the treat, so many people started asking her to go to the bar. Chen Jian was 50% to 60% drunk. He went to a bar to have a drink and would definitely fall asleep quickly. Ma Xiaozu used her mobile phone to book a room in the hotel next to the bar, planning to get Chen Jian there when the time came. Old couples, what can't be solved by sleeping together? In a happy mood, she found a way to secretly turn off Chen Jian's cell phone, feeling at ease. But just as she ordered the wine, her cell phone rang. My son called. Mom. Chen Yi hit me. She wants to beat me to death. Come and save me. Ma Xiaozu was dumbfounded on the spot. What the hell? Chen Yi, so cruel. Tonight, Ma Xiaozu originally wanted to arrange for her son to live at Zhou Qingqing's place. But the damn girl wasn't at home and couldn't get through on the phone, so she had to arrange for her aunt to take her son. Thinking that Chen Yi was under a lot of pressure from schoolwork recently, she got home late, and then she only stayed in her room to do her homework. Her son went to bed early and would not conflict with Chen Yi, so she didn't think anything was wrong. But that bad girl. It's obviously intentional. Mom. Chen Yi is going to beat me to death, please save me, his son cried loudly, which made Ma Xiaozu's heart twitch. Just now, she was thinking about how to use the wind and moon to melt the ice, and her charm was gone. Wukun, Ma Xiaozu was so angry that she almost stepped on the Hot Wheels and rushed home at high speed. For Chao Ran, such a thing was easy. Ma Xiaozu and Chen Jian celebrate their wedding anniversary every year. Although Chen Yi doesn't say it verbally, there is a gap in her heart. So today, Chao Ran will remember it. When she came home from school, she saw the fresh roses in a vase on the table and guessed that Ma Xiaozu wanted to break the ice with Chen Jian. Ma Xiaozu was not at home, so she called Chen Jian and said they were having a dinner together. Chao Ran knew it. She settled down and did her homework for 2 hours. When she called Chen Jian again, she found that her phone had been turned off. She knew that Ma Xiaozu was either taking Chen Jian to live alone, or she was on her way to live alone. Oh, it's simple. If you can't get Chen Jian back, you can get Ma Xiaozu back. Hit the snake 7 inches. Ma Xiaozu 7 inches must be Chen Xiao. Little brat, isn't she just playing tricks? The TV in the living room was turned on, connected to Chen Xiao's most precious imported game console, and the stereo was turned on. When the high-pitched fighting sounds sounded, it took less than a minute for Chen Xiao's door to open with a crack. Huh? What a crappy game, why don't you move? Chao Ran tapped the handle on the marble table, then stood up to watch the TV. Maybe he didn't notice the messy cables under his feet. He tripped over his feet and the game console rolled off the table to the floor. What are you doing? That childish voice appeared, and Chen Xiao couldn't bear it anymore and rushed out. Chao Ran deliberately waited for him to rush forward before picking up the game console. When she saw Chen Xiao's hand approaching, her hand shook and the game console rolled to the ground again. You scared me. Tao Ran went to pick it up again. Give me back my treasure, Chen Chao was furious. Tao Ran's body was just in front of him. With his short hands and feet, there was no way he could grab it. Without thinking, he reached out and pushed Chen Yi away. Tao Ran was waiting for him to make the first move. Crouching down, she pounced forward. When she fell to the ground, the game console in her hand flew out again. This time, she used a little more force on her hands. No matter how good the quality of the game console was, she hit it hard and hit the wall hard. This time it finally fell into pieces. The heroine who wears fast is really a boss. Author, Ruo Shui 1111. Chapter 190. How could Chen Chao be Tao Ran's opponent? When his most beloved baby was shattered to pieces, he naturally had a heart attack and fell on Chen Yi while crying. Tao Ran was pushed first, and now he was beaten again. Naturally, he could follow the trend and take care of Chen Chao. She grabbed Chen Chao with her backhand and was pinned to the ground by her. Then she picked up the remote control and spanked Chen Chao hard. Chen Yi, you are domestic violence against me. It was just a fight at best. You were the one who made the first move. I was just fighting back in self-defense. I want to call the police. Report it? If you don't report it, you will be your grandson. Just in time for the police to come and see how you tortured me, Tao Ran said and threw the landline phone over. Chen Chao lost all face and was so angry that he cried loudly. He could only call Ma Xiaozu for help. Just like that, Ma Xiaozu's plan came to nothing again. On the contrary, Tao Ran had a few more considerations for Ma Xiaozu. After all, this woman has been in Chen Jian's company for many years, and it seems that she still has connections. Without her people to instigate in the company, how could everyone be so enthusiastic about helping celebrate the anniversary? Since their colleagues gave them a place to go on a date, how could they not leave private space for the two of them and ask for a transfer? Will you get Chen Jian drunk? There must be people from her in the company. Someone who can completely obey her commands. Gotta find out? Ma Xiaozu and Chen Jian rushed home quickly. Not surprisingly, Chen Chao was scolded and even beaten. Chen Jian was furious. What? My sister can't touch the things in the house? So what if it's broken? A small game can allow you to do something to your own sister? All your studies have gone to the dog's belly. Ma Xiaozu was also affected by Chen Jian's anger. How on earth did you teach your son? Don't you even understand the basic principles? Ma Xiaozu was about to cry but had no tears. She wanted to break the ice, but ended up freezing 3 feet deep. The next day, Chen Jian sold all the gadgets in his home to the scrap collector. Chen Chao almost went crazy and kept saying that he wanted to move in with Zhou Qingqing. When Chen Jian got angry, he once again asked Ma Xiaozu to take her daughter and get away as soon as possible. Ma Xiaozu knelt at Chen Jian's feet again and begged. She could no longer find any pity in Chen Jian's eyes. She also knew that if the marital relationship did not change, there would be little point in not getting divorced. Tao Ran's main goal at this stage is to take the high school entrance examination. She plans to deal with Ma Xiaozu and Zhou Qingqing together after the high school entrance examination is over. So as long as Ma Xiaozu didn't mess around, she would try to be calm. What's funny is that the driver who followed Ma Xiaozu with Tao Ran during the summer vacation called her one day and asked her if she had any work. Tao Ran thought for a while. There is definitely no job like chartering a car. But you are waiting for work at the gate of the community every day anyway. Can you help me keep an eye on Zhou Qingqing? See who she comes into contact with. If that man showed up in our community last time, you must tell me. Since she deduced that Zhou Qingqing was the one who recruited Zhou's father last time, then, if there is one thing, there will definitely be another, right? Zhou Qingqing lives alone, maybe Zhou's father will come to see her? Okay. I'll keep an eye on it for you. I'll report to you every day when and how Zhou Qingqing leaves home and returns home. Sure, the deal was concluded on the condition of 2 cigarettes per month and continued car rental during the summer vacation. In the blink of an eye, halfway through the first semester, Tao Ran's performance in several exams was quite stable. Although he did not get into the top 3 in the class, he still ranked 5th to 8th in the class. The head teacher Han Mingli was already very happy about this. Work hard. If you work hard with these results, maybe you can get into the first grade of high school. Tao Ran nodded, her goal was also high. She is confident. In fact, Tao Ran was initially wary of her last year of junior high school, thinking that Wang Shu and others might take revenge on her. But halfway through the first semester, everyone in Wang Shu's group kept away from her, and she was never in trouble. According to Lu Hua, it was Wang Shu's father's signal that Chen Yi was generous enough to let him run ahead in front of the Chen family last time and did not bite him back, so Wang Shu had to accept this. From this point of view, Father Wang is still a principled bastard. After the midterm, Wang Shu did not go to school for many days. Tao Ran thought of this one day and asked Chen Jian about the compensation for Wang Shu's family that night. His family gave him 100,000 yuan at the end of the summer vacation. He could have paid off the compensation this month, but something happened to his family. Only 80,000 yuan was given. What happened? Wang Shu's father's leg was broken and both legs were disabled. I heard that surgery costs a lot of money. Chen Jian was soft-hearted, so he didn't ask for money. Tao Ran couldn't help but think about it. She found Lu Hua and asked him about Wang Shu's family. The incident happened not in the city. The reason was that one of Wang Shu's father's brothers was beaten up in another place, so his father and a group of people rushed to find a place. Not only did they not get anything, they were chased and beaten with steel pipes. His father was unlucky, and somehow he got into the other person's eyes. As a result, his father was the most seriously injured, and both his legs were smashed. What did the police say? The police arrived and everyone ran away. They are all gangsters. This kind of thing is common. The place is remote and there is no surveillance, so let's leave it alone. Could someone be targeting his father? No evidence. Who does Wang Shu suspect? Hey, Lu Hua motioned Tao Ran to look. Wang Shu, 100 meters away, stood alone under the tree, staring at Zhou Qingqing, who was standing at the door of the office and being lectured by Han Mingli. Tao Ran took a deep breath, as he thought. Tell me quickly. Lu Hua bit his lip. Since you and your father didn't kill Wang Shu's family to get money, I'll tell you he didn't hate Chen Yi at all. Although his family also lost 100,000, Chen Yi did not take the money, but donated it all. This point still impressed him very much. Lu Hua is indeed the most well-informed among the gangsters in the school. There is almost nothing that he doesn't know. Wang Shu's father is a very particular person. Although he has been involved in Taoism for many years, he has a good reputation in the surrounding cities. That day was more like a trap for Wang Shu's father. His brothers realized that something was wrong, and we all tried our best to protect him, but they were just after Wang Shu's father. I heard that the steel pipes were all solid, and Wang Shu's family were not prepared enough, so they couldn't withstand it. After thinking about it after coming back, the only people Dad Wang had offended recently were Ma Xiaozu and Zhou Qingqing. It was said that Wang's father had been forcing them to give money because of various events in the past, and he asked for more than 1 million yuan in total. But Zhou Qingqing's mother kept delaying it for more than 2 months and gave a total of 200,000 yuan. No, once this happens, the remaining more than 1 million will probably be lost. Wang Shu also doubted them. You also know that Wang Shu and his father were tricked by the mother and daughter on more than one occasion. Now that the Wang family's livelihood is about to be cut off, do you think Wang Shu can bear this breath? Don't you have to stop chasing Zhou Qingqing? However, Zhou Qingqing and Ma Xiaozu actually have this ability. Do they still know people on the road? Tao Ran couldn't help but laugh. Why don't you recognize me? That father of Zhou Qingqing. I might still be thinking wrong. The package of money that Ma Xiaozu gave to her ex-husband last time may not only be to get him to get out, but more likely to be a reward for letting him work. If you spend 200,000 yuan, you can solve a problem worth more than 1 million yuan, so why not?